Hello everyone, I'm Silverraptor and welcome to Dawn of War 3. Newly released game. I am so excited, been playing Dark Crusade to get into the mindset for it, and I want to show you a few out-of-game modes that you want to do before you get into this game. I've explored it briefly, but not enough to really cover everything, so I don't know very much about this game just yet. I did play a bit of the beta, but that is about the extent of my knowledge. I first wanted to show you the Army Painter. The Army Painter, I think, is, first off, the coolest thing of any Dawn of War game, following the Warhammer franchise, where you can paint your own army, basically create your own chapter, used to fight other opponents, and I just wanted to start this off with showing you the trim color that I chose for my Silverraptors chapter of Space Marines, but also can be translated to the Orcs and Eldar. I, of course, have normal armies I invented in the past for them, but this will just be my main force given out. So the primary color is basically all the colors are in this white section tab. The primary color is, of course, silver. And then the secondary color is Eshton Gray. If we move that, that's their shoulder guard right there. So the Eshton Gray. The third trim is the rim around their shoulder guard, and I believe I have that as a Noon Oil Black. And then finally, the last trim is just a plain Dryad bark. That is the emblem on their chest and their guns. And you can look at all the different unit previews. We can go to the Assault Marines. You can see the emblem black on their emblem and such. We can look at like the Dreadnought, what it looks like with its nice silver finish in the right light. So it's ready to bring the pain. So we have this up, is how I set up my army. With the insignia, I went with the Raven Guard because I didn't really have any. The salamanders are probably the closest to the dinosaur-like, but raptor also means bird of prey, so I chose the Raven Guard emblem for my army. Now, after you've created your army, you still have to customize it a bit for battle. There's a little bit of out of map gameplay battle that you need to do, similar to Wargame, and that's in the Elite tab. And this is for every one of your races. So as you are playing with in the game, you get something called elite points, and certain strategic points will generate elite points. These are your commanders, and when you get a certain amount of elite points, you can then bring in your commanders, point pictured here on the left, into the match. And this is the initial cost of bringing them into the game, the number of elite points they need to generate. Once you do that, they are in the game forever. Whether they die, they have a long cooldown to respawn. But once they respawn, then you can just call them back in. No need to use any more elite points. Now, each commander costs a different amount of elite points. For example, this middle right here costs 2 elite points, whereas this big ass robot thing is 10 elite points, which makes sense given that this thing could just bring absolute pain. Down below there is also different pictures, basically different skins. I haven't unlocked any because a lot of them require Master Skin level 9. After you play a match, depending on how much they kill or fight in your game, each of these units get experience, which they level up and they can unlock new abilities and skins. The only skin I have unlocked is, of course, this Master Robot, because I pre-ordered this and got access to the Dark Queen Stellaria skin. Her normal skin will look like this. They have a little bit plain looking and such, but this gives kind of a scary, badass look and almost chaos-like look, which is kind of interesting. But I'm going to be treated to that. So I'm actually going to go through the elite units for the Space Marines and just cover their abilities, because I am actually interested in their abilities. But before I also continue, there's also down here at the bottom skulls. Skulls are awarded for completing missions and multiplayer games, and you can use these to unlock special abilities here in this Army Doctrine selection. So you use skulls to unlock special bonuses for your army, as evident here. And I will go through all of these eventually. This is just going to be an elite map for now, but I just wanted to show you that before covering this, because some of the level ups just gives you extra skulls that you can use to buy for Army Doctrine. So the first thing I'm going to look at is these this kill team Iron Maw. Now this is the first group. Now these are, I think, Deathwatch. Yeah, Deathwatch command. These are Deathwatch legions. So they're only 2 points, and they're just basically a kind of a standard Space Marine squad almost in terms of strength, I do believe. The main difference is that you can only normally spawn elite infantry around strategic points and sectors, but this team can, I think, see. I know I read this somewhere. Here it is. Deathwatch can be deployed anywhere you have vision. So these guys can literally hot drop anywhere. And if you saw my first look match when I was dropping in those drop pods full of Space Marines, I could drop these guys right on top of like a deep strike, a sneak attack. And he can also deploy other elites around him, which is very useful. So if you have all your elites ready to drop, you can basically just throw a huge, massive behind their forces, drop and sneak attack them right off the bat. It looks like they can upgrade to getting a flamer, or basically a flamethrower, or a missile launcher for anti-tank benefits. They have the ability to teleport away from the battlefield. Let's see, causes deployment ability to have its cooldown significantly reduced, allowing them to quickly redeploy and pick a new upgrade package. If the ability is kept interrupted, cooldown is set to 30 seconds. So basically you can teleport them away from the battlefield, but you can redeploy them a lot quicker if you need to get them out. So I'm guessing you send them away, wait for a little bit, and then you can teleport them in for a hot dropping moment instead of waiting for them to die. Now they also seem to have vortex grenades. They throw these grenades at a target position and cause a slow in that area, and also does a marked for death debuff in the circle that basically makes them take percentage damage over time, and it's refreshed every time they are attacked by Deathwatch. So these guys can basically with those grenades and constant attacking, take down some pretty high health tanks, basically. Now this Deathwatch command land speeder, I don't quite know how you unlock this. Oh, I think I know. So up here is the experience bar. As you play games, these units will develop experience, and as they experience it, they will level up. Right now they are level 1 because I haven't used them in any matches. And basically they start off with the ability they can deploy anywhere. At level 2, you will be given skulls, which I told you can upgrade army doctrines and maybe even some elite doctrines as well. At level 3, you unlock the ability Land Speeder Mark. Now, this Land Speeders get to apply a debuff to their target. Basically, whatever they shoot at, it increases damage taken from other sources, or basically damage taken in general from anything, on that target that's being attacked by land raiders, and it reveals the target for a duration, so if they try to stealth away, they can't do so, or if they try to fly away out of sight, you'll still see them for a little bit. At level 4, it looks like you can get some more skulls to purchase some extra things, and then at level 5, you get a portrait to use for your avatar, if you're into that sort of thing. Level 6, you get to get a new paint, the Xenomortis Steel Paint. So that should be interesting. You get more skulls at level 7. At level 8, looks like you get the Deathwatch command. At level 8, this doctrine is unlocked to be equipped as an army doctrine. So you could, at level 8, assign this to your army doctrines and give him another ability to choose from. At level 9, you get the Master Skin, and at level 10, make your elite shine in the battlefield with this reticule. So you can make them shine and look shiny. So basically at level 8, you can make this an army command, and then you can send these guys back to be able to deep strike behind enemy lines. So that's interesting. So that's Kill Team Iron Maw. 2 elite points, cheapest of the Space Marines to bring in. Next up, we will take a look at Gabriel Angelo, captain of the Blood Ravens, I believe. And I did use him quite a bit in the open beta. Basically, he's got 2 abilities. He could jump to a target position with his hammer, and when he hits his hammer on the ground, areas inside that small target will take damage and knock back. He could then swing his hammer around, and basically it puts up like this invisible shield, and projectiles can't go through that shield, basically making him invulnerable to ranged fire for a short time. Now, as for special elite points, when he goes up in experience, he's got the Inspiring Drop when he's deployed, drop pod healed in a circle upon landing. So that is potentially pretty good. You can get more skulls, of course. Got a ability, Dreadnought Slam ability, creates a temporary barrier, absorb shots, and reflect projectiles. So this makes Dreadnoughts more resistant to enemy fire. So that's also pretty good as well. Then, of course, more skulls, a portrait, plume paint, more skulls, make the Dreadnought ability an army doctrine instead of taking up his Inspiring Drop ability, and then you can make him get a Master Skin and make him glow with level 9 and 10. So that would be Gabriel Angelo. And then finally, we have the Imperial Knight Tellurium. Now this is, of course, one of the largest units in the game. New unit that they've added to the Dawn of War franchise as they are growing larger and bigger. Lots of firepower, lots of health. This unit is definitely something you do not want to encounter on the battlefield with a less than optimal force. With it, with her abilities, she can use her Gatling cannons and a sweeping cone. Basically, she takes both of her Gatling guns, start at either end of the cone, and starts working her way in and shooting, and basically does a lot of damage to all targets and knocks them up within that damage cone. So potentially huge. If there's a blob of enemy forces in front of her, she can wipe them all out pretty quickly and devastating. Iron Storm missiles is a manual targeting system. You basically can target all 6 missiles to land in a certain radius around her at certain locations that you want, also helping you clear out enemy targets. So she is basically full on offense mode, and her special ability is that when she's deployed on the battlefield, whirlwind rockets leave behind a pool of fire when they explode, causes damage over time in a circle. So basically, the whirlwind tanks with their missile systems basically can drop napalm. They become the Buratino in Dawn of War 3. Get more skulls. Special second ability, fire on the move. Tactical Marines equipped with bolters can fire on the move, but do so less rapidly when stationary. So basically, you can have your Tactical Marines shoot and run. Basically, when they retreat, they'll shoot over their shoulder. It's the most optimal ability, I would think, because if you are ready past a group and they're shooting at you, this is not going to make your troops optimal in fighting back. It's only good if you tend to forget units after you tell them to go somewhere, which is not a really good playstyle, I don't think. And then, of course, more skulls. You get a avatar portrait. You get the Varlock paint. Skulls. Make that a army doctrine, and then make her shine. Now, it seems that there are other commanders, and they need to be unlocked. This one takes 200 skulls. This one takes 300 skulls. This one is 200 skulls, 200 more skulls, 200 skulls, and 200 skulls. Okay, so all 200 skulls except this one. Let's go over these guys. I'm just I haven't actually looked at these. This will be interesting. So the chaplain Diomedes, it says melee unit capable of withstanding considerable punishment and enhancing allies. Diomedes' critical strike empowers his allies and increases potency the longer he remains in combat. So he doesn't have very much offense. He's not an offense person, but he's had good defense and utility. So he's pretty good at basically, I would say, supporting your forces. He's got medium difficulty with this bar. So if you're really new to this game, you're just trying to figure out how things work, and you don't know what commanders to pick, the lower the difficulty, the easier they are to use. And then when you start feeling more comfortable, you can then pick in commanders which have higher difficulty in using. Let's see, the ability, Literary, I know I mispronounced that wrong, of battle. Diomedes recites the liturgies of battle, empowering himself and his Space Marine brethren, increases speed, rate of critical strikes, and applies the bonus of his critical strikes to his normal melee attacks. With liturgies is active, attacks from Diomedes grants a smaller additional bonus to all of your units. So basically makes all of his troops faster and crit more often, so generally do more damage. Here's a passive ability. He gains Fury as he attacks, losing it when it's disabled or out of combat. At max Fury, he grants a charge, empowering his critical strikes with additional properties. The first charge adds bonus melee, while the second charge heals in a circle. Interesting. And he delivers a power bow with every 6 melee attack and grants the shield. Okay, so this is all of his regular standard abilities. Let's see, his ability, when he is deployed, at least become temporarily invulnerable for a duration instead of dying. Has a long cooldown between uses. Ooh, that's pretty interesting. You can keep your elite alive in combat. Potentially useful. More skulls. His other ability, Final Slam, is that instead of dying, the Dreadnought activates Slam and heals enough to avoid death. Only triggers once. So you can literally give a last stand for the Dreadnoughts using their Slam ability with this. That could be pretty useful if you are sending Dreadnoughts to the front line. The paint is a Reclusium black paint. Sounds interesting. Make that an army doctrine. So I think I'll just start speeding this up because they all seem to be the same. So after Diomedes, we're going to take a look at this Knight Paladin. This guy is 300 skulls, and I want to know why. I think I know why. He's another one of those big units. Okay, super heavy walker with powerful range and melee attacks. The Paladin can project its shield in a direction independent of its own facing, absorbing any shots that would otherwise pass through it. Interesting. So, Ion Shield. The Paladin deploys its shield, target direction, and absorbs shots that pass through it. So it's like that shield I told you about Angelo's. He basically stops projectiles when they hit that shield and basically can protect himself from enemy ranged attacks. That's pretty damn good. Piercing shot. The Paladin fires a powerful shot in the target direction. The projectile pierces, doing damage to unit it passes through. So you can, if you have units lined up, that's pretty good at just clearing out units. Reaper Chainsword Sweep. The Paladin does a sweeping attack with his Chainsword, causes damage, knockback, and stun in an expanding cone. So basically he just knocks everyone aside with his Chainsword. And when this Paladin kills a vehicle or elite, it receives a cooldown reduction on Ion Shield and generates charges of Piercing Shot. Okay, so it's an elite killer. It gets benefit from killing elite, but it's got max level difficulty. Very strong in offense and defense, but pretty difficult to use at the start is what they are suggesting to me. Its passive is Piercing Shot. When it's deployed, the Predator Destructor can fire a powerful shot in the target direction. So basically, Predators also get that piercing shot as well as this. So you can literally line up your tanks and just clear out battlefields head on, as it looks like. Shield Wall, the secondary ability, or I could just look down here. Devastating Marines gain a shield if they've been stationary for a duration. Moving, remove the shield, but if it's destroyed and the unit is disabled, it will take time for the shield to regenerate. Okay, so I might use that. Devastator Marines are the guys with the big machine guns. Those, I use those guys quite a bit, and getting a shield on them might be pretty useful, but generally I don't want them to be taking fire, so we'll see how that works out. On to the next commander, and we've got Terminators. Yeah! I like Terminators. Terminators are basically the most elite of the elite of Space Marines. They have quite a lot of offense, no surprise there. Moderate defense, a little less utility, and they seems to be medium or fairly easy to use. Basically, you tell them to shoot stuff with their big-ass guns, gauntlets, and missile launchers. They can teleport. I knew that. Definitely, so they could just pop in a more advantageous position. And they can do a Cyclone Missile Barrage that scatter in a circle around target position. They cause damage in a circle, and Terminators fire additional missiles for each charge they have. They gain charge for each as they earn fury from ranged combat and lose them when they are out of combat. So as they fight, they can fire more missiles. So these guys love to fight, especially from a range. Good supporting unit. I think I might be using these guys. Their special ability. When the Terminators are deployed, Devastator Marines with heavy bolters no longer have to set up or tear down their weapons. Oh, that would be so beneficial. So once those guys get into position, they'll just start shooting. It always irritated me. It took them like 2 or 3 seconds to set up or remove before they can actually move. This would make them a lot more rapid response. I like this ability. I like these units. I might start going with these guys at the start. Their secondary ability, after you level them up a bit, Devastators fire a focused lat cannon shot at the target vehicle, causes silence, slow, and disables attacks. Okay, so I'm not sure what all that means, but with my knowledge of previous games, disable attacks is pretty straightforward. Basically, that unit cannot attack back when the Devastators are firing their las cannons on them. Slows the target, so they can't move as fast, and silences them, meaning they can't use any ability. So basically, it just makes them a sitting target as these las cannons just melt them down, which is also a pretty strong ability if you think about it. I would probably consider getting that. Codex blue paint. I'll just stop with the paint. You can figure out if you are into this game what paint each unit has and whether or not you want them. So the next group is the venerable Dreadnought. Ooh, I remember this from Dawn of War 2. This is basically a Dreadnought with a guy who's decided to poke his head out for us all to see. Hi! So, he's got a huge-ass plasma cannon on here. What does that do? Maximal charge. The venerable Dreadnought fire the charge of plasma shot at the target position, causes damage in a circle on impact, and continues to do damage over time. Firing a maximal charge generates considerable heat. Overheating the venerable Dreadnought causes it to move slow and disables ranged attacks. Okay, yeah, that's the thing about plasma. Plasma does overheat, and they need to, vent heat before they can really fire again. But they do armor-piercing damage and percentile damage. So these are just tank killers or really heavy infantry killers with that kind of gun. Toss. The venerable Dreadnought throws a piece of terrain at the target position, causes armor-piercing damage and knockback in a circle. Additionally, infantry and a cone in front of him are knocked back to the target position, causes true damage to the unit on impact and stuns in the circle. True damage means that armor doesn't negate any damage. In this game, armor mitigates some of the damage when they take. True damage just bypasses that completely, if the terminology works with other games that I have done. So this guy is sounding pretty badass. Gets hot. Firing a maximal charge generates considerable heat. Overheating. Okay, so that's just saying don't overheat this venerable Dreadnought. His ability, Plasma Storm. When the Venerable Dreadnought is deployed, tactical marine plasma guns do not overheat. Oh my god. Plasma guns, really powerful. If they just don't overheat, that means they can just keep firing and firing and firing and just melt heavy infantry in front of them. That is amazing. Venerable Dreadnought Command, Assault Leap. Assault Marines perform a low-flying leap in the target direction, causes damage to units it passes through. So basically, they could just fly forward a little bit on the ground and just knock units aside, instead of just doing their big leap jump. Not as inclined to that. This is really amazing, though. So, going back to the next guy, which would be the Assault Terminators. The difference between Terminators and Assault Terminators is that Terminators like to shoot stuff from range. Assault Terminators like to get in down and dirty into the thick of it and just bash their heads in with a hammer. And I use these guys mainly in the open beta because Terminators are just awesome. They can teleport like the other regular Terminators can, and hammer slam. When they slam they can slam the ground with their hammer, causes damage, stun, and slow in a circle. So they just get on top of their target, slam their hammer down, and then just begin picking them apart. They're fairly easy to use, low utility, but very good offense and defense. Elite squad to take on. The Assault Terminator's presence, charging slam. When the Assault Terminators are deployed, the Dreadnoughts can charge in the target direction, causes knockback, damage, and vehicle stuns to unit it passes through. At the end of a charge or when activated during the charge, the Dreadnought performs a slam. It loses the ability to perform a slam without initiating a charge slam. So basically, Dreadnoughts just say, "For the Emperor!" and they go overdrive, pushing everything aside before they just slam their fist into the ground and knock everything up into the air and do damage. And then they do what Dreadnoughts do best, and that is kill everything. Assault Terminator Command, Frag Grenade. So, tactical marines throw a grenade at the target position, causes knockback and damage in a circle. So tactical marines get frag grenades. Cool. That might be potentially pretty useful. So, we're almost through the elites, I feel. Yep, we only have one left. We have the Librarian, Joan, Orion. Yeah, Orion. Now, he's max level difficulty and has the utility. He's got an ugly looking baby angel thing right here. Low on offense, low on defense. So this guy is not supposed to be in combat, it seems like. He's a librarian, so strong in the warp. He has psychic abilities, basically psychics. Fury of the Ancients. Jonah uses his familiar to manifest arcs of lightning, causes damage, and increases speed of allies in a line. So I guess you lightning that does damage to enemies, but increases the speed of allies in the line. So if you have your troops in melee with other troops, it will damage them while speeding up your troops. Emperor's Light. Jonah calls forth the Emperor's Light, increases damage of allies while disabling attacks, blinding and silencing enemies in an expanding circle. Oh, that's cool. He basically starts a circle that grows in size, and as your troops enter that circle, they increase their damage, and when enemies get in that circle, they can't attack, and they're silenced, meaning they can't use their abilities or attack again. That's pretty cool. Stonewall. Jonah erects a magical barrier in a circle around him, blocks movement, and absorbs shots that pass through it. Fury of the Ancients are altered when cast inside Stonewall. They're altered. I don't know what that means, but basically he can make himself in a little safety bubble. Zeal. Jonah gains a charge when using abilities that decay over time. Each charge increases attack speed. That's not as good considering he has low offense capability. Alright, so he starts off with Joan's Orion's presence. Standard Stonewall, whatever that means. When Joan Orion is deployed, the standard erects a magical barrier in a circle around itself, blocks movement and absorbs shots that pass through it. So he could basically deploy a standard, which is basically a flag, and it blocks movement and absorbs shots. So it's like a mini inspirational shield for your troops. The other one, the blind grenades. Gauss grenades blind and silence the enemy for a duration. Duration increases as you tier up. So basically, scouts can now incapacitate enemies that they fight. So this guy's basically a good support for your troops. And he's only 3 elite points, so something to consider. Then again, you can definitely mix and match all your troops with whatever you might want. So I think I'm actually going to leave this end of this episode for here. In the next episode, I'm going to go through all the army doctrines. And I just didn't want this video to get too long. So yeah, thank you all for watching as I do this out of gameplay review of Dawn of War 3. If you enjoyed this, please do like, comment, and subscribe down below. And I'll see you all in the next episode.